Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, we're going to be discussing the year in entertainment in movies and TV, some of the biggest stories and things that happened over the course of the year. Plus, we're going to say goodbye to 2024. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in as often as you have throughout the year. We really do appreciate it. I hope you are a subscriber. Hit subscribe because this is the last original episode of the season. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow hosts, John Davenport.
Hey, buddy.
Troy Heinrichs.
I'm back, bitches.
Hey, and what? I said season. I guess it's a year, right? We don't really have a season here.
We can start doing seasons. That'd be interesting.
It's the season of love.
It's hard to do seasons when movies and TV never stop.
I know, I miss those days. Fall, winter, spring.
Don't you? I really kind of do. I miss having summer. Like summer was movies, TV was fall, and some spring. I miss that. I miss having that dedicated slot for my entertainment so I could do other stuff without having to think I'm missing something. Maybe
that's why we're all so overwhelmed by the amount of media out there, is that we don't have those breaks. We don't have those breaks that force us outside. Oh, there's nothing on TV but the president and I don't know, The Price is Right. Let's just go outside.
I mean, I do force myself to go out quite a bit, and I still watch a lot of media, but it's a embarrassment of riches, right? Is that what they say? We've got a lot of stuff. That's great. There's always something to watch. There's a lot of good quality entertainment out there. Even this year, even after the strikes, there was still so much entertainment. When they said we wouldn't have much, there was plenty.
Plenty.
Yeah. I just want less so I don't think I'm missing everything, I guess. I don't know. Well, hey, if you've never listened before, you can always subscribe in whatever podcast app you're listening to this in, or you go to thehollywoodoutsiders.com. That's our official website. You can join us on our Facebook group. We have a private Facebook group. We also have a page. We're on X, Buy Popcorn, all the other social media places, Threads and Blue Sky, and, I think there's about 4,000. We're on Instagram. We don't really post a whole lot on Instagram, but what are you going to do? And you can always email us, feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, as we try to figure out, what are we going to do for 2025? How are we going to do things different? The same? What? You guys have an opinion?
Just not come back.
Just light it on fire and burn the whole thing down?
I didn't say that. I just not come back. People will be like, where are they? It creates the mystery, the hype to see, when are they actually coming back?
How long do you think they would be worried? You think there would be a search party, or would they just go to another podcast?
They would just go to another podcast. Nobody's looking for us.
There's a few.
Damn, dude. That's really sad. Do you want to unpack that?
You really want me to?
No, I do not.
Because I could unpack the shit out of that.
No, let's not unpack that. That is just too much sadness for the end of the year. And it's the end of the year. This is our final episode of the season. I keep saying the freaking final episode of 2024. We're done. This is it. And then there'll be a compilation as always, and then we'll be back, I think, after January 8th, something like that. We'll be back with our awards episode or movie extravaganza. I don't remember what. I've got a whole thing figured out. I got to go look at it, but you know what I'm saying.
I mean, that's 3 weeks. Are they going to find us on the 8th?
Is that too long in podcast time?
Oh, I suppose we'll do the compilation episode. So it's 2 weeks that you won't have a podcast at all.
Right. And 1 week's Christmas, the next week's New Year's.
I know they're going to be drunk and hungover. That's why they want to listen to us on the first, because they want to hear the Ho Drunk Hungover podcast.
That's true.
Yeah.
You guys will be impossible to get a hold of, but I'll probably be sitting around bored, and I'll throw together some review podcast.
But that's usually what happens every year.
It is. I get bored after a while, and you guys don't want to talk to me, so we move on.
It's a 2-week vacation. I'm playing video games and catching up on 800 TV series that came out in 2024.
Are you going to give Indiana Jones a try?
I don't know. I've grown to a point where first-person shooters make me nauseous.
For those that don't know, there's a brand new Indiana Jones game on Xbox. I think it's exclusive till next year. Rave reviews. People say it's better than some of the movies.
Which one?
I bet you can guess at least one of them.
Is the Crystal Skull an Easter egg in this game? That would be funny.
There's probably a flying monkey at some point. I hope he shoots it.
Is there
there's
a fridge Easter egg.
Fridge flies by for no reason whatsoever.
Does he find a BFG so he could just like torch that monkey? That would be cool.
Well, it's very exciting. I can't wait to play it. I've been waiting literally all year for this game. I know it's sad, but it's true. I'm actually waiting until I have time to sit down and play with it for a matter of time, as opposed to, an hour here, hour there. I actually want to sit with it.
Well, I'm happy for you that you decided to record the podcast instead of play the game.
I'm this was the best time for Troy, and I appreciate that because I know how hard it is to find time and whatnot. And I almost said, fuck you. But
oh, no. He said
kidding.
it. He just didn't say it out loud.
Right.
It's all right. I'll get to it. I'll have plenty of time. Probably tomorrow night. Let's get into this actual show. That's what you guys want to hear. You don't want to hear us just ramble right now, right? So let's talk about some of the entertainment stories. The biggest one in movies and TV, biggest ones in movies and TV are stuff that we found most impactful in 2024. And we're going to kind of go like specific, not specific, whatever, but just things that were kind of a big deal this year. And I'm going to start with kind of low-hanging fruit. And that's the streaming service password crackdown, where you've got all these services now. Max is next. They're toying with it now. Where they used to encourage us, Netflix famously had a freaking tweet that said, go share your password. We're never going to have a problem with it. And then suddenly they had a problem with it. Now everybody's doing this. Now that it's settled in, does it bother anybody or not?
It's not really that big of a deal, though, because like as long it's the same thing you have with,
Ebenezer.
with Google YouTube TV. Yeah, YouTube TV, that's what it's called now. The as long as you come and check in with the house where the account is on a somewhat frequent basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can still log in on your phone when you travel or go somewhere else. So as long as you bring the device you want to watch on back to Home Central once a month, then you can still watch it other places.
It
So
is
it's
a
not
little
really
bit of an irritant, though. I was traveling and I pulled up Netflix. Same thing. You got to get a passcode and everything else because you're at a different location. But it was kind of a pain in the ass. The old days, meaning 6 months ago, I literally just plugged my Fire Stick in and that fired it up and I'm all good. Now I got to go through a step. Life is too busy for steps.
I like that way you said that. A step.
Yeah, it's a step.
That step does not bother me. What this is actually doing is it's cracking down on the people that were like, I'll give you my Netflix password for your Paramount Plus password and that kind of stuff. And it's like,
my kind of people. My kind of people.
But I can understand it is stealing in a way. So therefore,
come on.
as long as you don't screw over like my kid who's going to college, right? The kid is still on the account. It's still the household account. Like they should have the right to watch it. They're not going to buy their own account.
Is that stealing?
If I give you my Netflix thing and then I get your Paramount in return,
how is that stealing? That is optimizing.
I don't live in your
services.
household.
We're like family.
To us, it's optimizing to the networks and stuff.
He's being funny. Why are you arguing with him? He's being funny.
He just likes to argue. It's true.
He's not funny.
You're not funny. Your face isn't funny.
He knows it's stealing.
It's not stealing. I mean, I guess once it's part of terms and agreement, I guess
the term and agreement says it's for your household and the people that live in it. You don't live in my house. And
look, just like Vin Diesel said, everybody's my family. Everybody in the whole goddamn planet is my family.
It's really no different than pirating it and downloading something and then saving it on a Plex server and watching it on a Plex server. It's really no different than doing that, which is stealing.
It's borrowing.
I've seen it. Remember, there was a moment where I said, "Hey, I can get this movie on a Plex server. Do you guys want access to this Plex server?" And you said, "Absolutely not. I'm not doing
absolutely
that."
not. And I stand behind that. I've always been a big supporter of indie film and independent productions. Every time Netflix and somebody like this cracks down, I start to understand the Plex idea a little bit more.
And to be fair, we were just going to do it to avoid the commercials on the service we downloaded to watch it on.
Oh well,
but it's still a benefit because like I got MGM Plus just to watch season 3 of From 10 episodes. Right, it was $16 for the 2 months that I had it because I waited till 3 episodes were out, so I didn't have to pay that third month.
Yeah, you're pretty good about this, right?
And then like that $16, like I would have paid $19.99 for the season or $29.99 for the season if I would have bought it after the season was done on Amazon or iTunes or whatever they call it now, Apple TV store. So I think I still came ahead in the deal because I also got whatever else was on MGM Plus for that 2 months, not just from.
But you're very disciplined, right? Because you cancel, start the next thing.
Hell yeah.
That's how you do it, right? Because you don't have Netflix all year long. You have Netflix for a month or two or something like that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I got it for Nobody Wants This and then get rid of my Netflix subscription.
Do you just redo trials or something?
I do have a way to go about that. I don't know if it's technically legal, so I won't share here.
Gray areas. I like this. Yeah.
Gray areas.
He rotates his email addresses, all of them.
Correct.
That's why he keeps asking for my email. What's your email at work? What's your email at home? What's your email at the other home?
Mm-hmm.
What's the whole password? I get it all now.
Just make a new Gmail account. Every time you need a new TV service, that's all you got to do.
Hey, I want to. Are we good on this topic, or do you want to talk about it anymore?
I mean, I think it needs to happen just because of we want to keep the prices down because the more
but they're still going up.
Well, I mean, the more that it's shared, right, the more the prices keep climbing. So at some point, the more new subscribers they'll add because of the password crackdown, the more stabilization in the prices there'll be. The problem is they weren't adding any new subscribers, so that's why the prices had to keep going up in order to afford the content. Or you could just make less content. That would be great.
Yeah, I think you're giving them way too much credit. With Netflix, you can still pay entry-level price, and on top of the entry-level price, you're getting commercials.
I can see his logic. I mean, I understand it probably should work that way. I think you're giving them, the business community, a little too much credit. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if there's an opportunity to literally bend us over and flog us, they would take that opportunity if they make a few bucks out of it.
I mean, isn't that business in general?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's literally in the terms and conditions of Netflix. There's flogging.
Remember, we don't live in a democracy. We live in a capitalistic society.
Hey, I don't need you telling me where I live. All right. I'm very close to Canada. I can switch sides anytime I want. Moving into movie theaters, there's a resurgence that people keep talking about. Movie theaters are coming back. I keep saying they haven't gone anywhere. There was a strike last year, several strikes that delayed content. They were talking about it all year last year. It was always going to happen. It did happen. Actually, we're doing much better than any box office prediction forecast. So it's been doing well. It's just there's a lack of content and desirable content. What you were seeing in theaters was a lot of the kind of the mid-level stuff that they were pushing out just to keep theaters occupied. And now content is finally catching back up. We just had the biggest, not just, it was a few weeks ago, but the biggest Thanksgiving box office holiday ever. That's
because they included Tuesday now.
No, it's just Wednesday to Sunday, whatever. It blew it off like almost $100 million. It blew it over $100 million. So that wasn't from previews. It was just a fantastic string of days. Following weekend was the best weekend after Thanksgiving. Like, it's just been fantastic. We're less than $1 billion from where we were in 2023 at the end of the year. So it's doable to at least catch up to half of that, if not get close to it, if there are any other breakouts in the final stretch here of the month. So, I'm asking again. I know the answer, but I'll ask you guys and I'll just be quiet. Do you think movie theaters were ever actually dying to begin with?
People were still going and they're still interested in going. But the thing is that what we had in the theaters wasn't the draw anymore. Especially when you come to the idea that there was so many different properties that were in movie theaters, but soon to be at home too. So you start losing that drive, that sense of urgency to go to the movie theater. And when you start looking at the movies that did pop up and start popping off in the movie theater recently, you're looking at Wicked, that's staying in the movie theater for a while. Deadpool, Wolverine stayed in the movie theater for a while. All these properties are things that people are hungry for that they would only have access to in the movie theater. So of course people are going to go to the movie theater to experience it. I think a lot of it has to do with like we dealt with the downturn of comic book movies because for whatever the reason you want to say, the comic book movies had a downturn. And then there was what else are we going to have?
I don't think movie theaters were ever dead. I think the challenge is that movie theaters had was that, like you said, like it was the mid-level content. So people are like, I can wait for that. I have a streaming service that I borrowed a password from until they cracked down on the passwords. So the people that wanted to go to theaters could still go to the theaters. There was still content to see at the theaters. It just wasn't like the mega draws, like your Wickeds or Oppenheimers or things of that nature, right? It was just middling good movies that people didn't want to take a chance on because it wasn't a property that they were familiar with. Now they have properties coming out again that are what they're familiar with. And we're seeing the resurgence of people going in droves and going back a second time and a third time for Wicked especially. And then, of course, Christmas Day will come the sing-along version and everybody will go back again. So I think the biggest thing is that what is it that they need from a content strategy perspective in 2025 to keep the momentum going? That's really going to be the big question.
Well, that's what the people got to come back for at the beginning of the year when we have our big movie extravaganza and we go through what's coming out. That's a hook, I think. Is that a hook? I think it's a hook.
It's a hook. It's not a great hook, but it's a hook.
Wow.
We also won't have the same argument that Aaron and I have all the time when he talks about the biggest weekend ever, because of course it's always it's like the iPhone 16 is the best phone we ever made. Of course it is, because you've made 16 of them. It's phallus because you have to make sure you do the inflation adjustments. You have to figure out how many screens are available and blah, blah, blah to actually get a true measurement of, is it actually better?
No, that's nonsense. Inflation doesn't take into account the accumulation of content, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many factors that go into inflation over time. But anyway, plus ticket prices haven't gone up but like $1 in a decade. So stop it.
Yeah, $1 $1 million times is $1 million. That
yeah, boy, that's going to make a
normalized.
whopping difference right now on these big mega movies, isn't it? Just a big mega whop. I don't know what the hell I'm saying anymore.
Now you're.
I don't know.
What just happened? A big mega
don't
wop.
know.
What is it?
But I will tell you, I this is exactly the kind of year I expected. I think most people that really follow box office felt very similarly. It was going to be the way that it is panned out. I really want to commend kind of how Disney has done things, because, they were the shitter a couple of years ago, just a matter of a few years ago. And they brought Bob Iger back because they're like, please save our studio because it's dead. They lost so much money putting everything on Disney Plus because they don't really make a ton of profit there. So they brought Bob Iger back and he's like, we need theatrical distribution. We are not making money off of just Disney Plus. Like, we need to create a viable window for both. So he brought that back. He brought Alan Bergman back. He brought people that understand how the theatrical business works because they can make so much money. And now they're cranking in the dollars yet again. They decided to take the year off from most Marvel movies. That was a good plan. That was a great idea. Moana was supposed to be I think a 6-episode series.
A TV series, yeah.
For Disney Plus. And instead they repackaged it into a movie that's now going to be one of the biggest animated films of all time. Already it's blowing the doors off of other movies. It's going to rival Inside Out 2 for one of the biggest of the year, which is
even
a huge
with
surprise.
Chihu in the movie, because Chihu is terrible. This is the worst song ever made.
The music is definitely not as good.
It's not awful. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but Chihu is definitely never should have been. I don't know who approved that song.
And I do think, Mufasa, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't excited for it, but I bet you families will be. It'll be a good thing for Christmas for families to go see. So Disney's made some really good steps.
Yeah, the more I've seen the trailers for Mufasa, the more interested I am.
I'm just Barry Jenkins. He got me there, so I'm in on that. So yeah, so movie theaters. And I am finally starting to hear people die down that have just been clamoring for them to die because they don't like them. Is that whole thing. It's kind of like DC people wanted Marvel to die and vice versa. It's just that kind of nonsense. Look, if you don't like to go, that's great. Stay home. That's fine. Stream it whenever it comes out there. But there has to be a window. I've said this for a long time. I know I've gotten a lot of hate mail over it, but there had to be a distribution window from when it's in the theater to when it streams. It has to be like a few weeks or a month. And now you see studios going back to that because they lost a ton of money during COVID over it. Rudwin is coming to Prime. I think by the time you hear this, it'll be on Prime. And that's only came out, a month ago. So, but still, there's a window because they know they need to. Although that movie is probably not a good example. It didn't really make a whole lot. Oh, well. It's a good movie. It's fun. All right. Now I want to talk about this Taylor Sheridan situation. And, I know we don't all, none of us watch Yellowstone, right? None of us here?
Nope.
No, so why are we talking about it? Who's Taylor Sheridan?
Because it literally has been trending since all weekend or whatever. But Taylor Sheridan, who is Taylor? Did you really just say that?
He just has said.
Did you mean it?
No, it didn't mean it.
Okay. I'm like, oof, you can't be the TV guy anymore if you don't know who this guy is.
I just said, like, no one watches Yellowstone here. Why are we talking about it?
Okay, if you don't know who Taylor Sheridan is, he's this creator of an entire universe for Paramount. Yellowstone, 1923, 1883. He's got Lioness. He's got Landman, which just came out and is already, popping off. Like, he is a master creator
Tulsa
of things.
King, Mayor Kingstown.
He's the new Greg Berlanti, is what you're saying.
Yes, very much the new Greg Berlanti. But he's actually much wiser in terms of how he's using things, because he bought a ranch, like hundreds of thousands of acres or some nonsense, and he rents it to Paramount. He leases it for like $50,000 a month. So he's making money. His payments are being paid by Paramount for his big ass ranch. It's awesome. It's good for him. So what he's been doing, he started it as an actor. It didn't really go very far as an actor. So he turned to writing, and that's kind of where he gained his fame, and then launched the show. The show is really what created his empire. And now he's kind of gotten a bit full of himself, according to some people. And now he's injecting himself into the very last season of Yellowstone, and people are pissed. And I also saw him pop up in Lioness. I didn't think he was bad in that, though. I think he was fine. I mean, he didn't distract. I thought he was actually kind of good. I can't speak to Yellowstone, but apparently people are saying this character of Travis is pointless and a waste of time. And all that to say, do you think it's a problem when a writer starts making himself the focus of his own projects and he's not the focus of his own projects?
No. M. Night has done it forever. Like, M. Night is in every movie that he's been in.
Well, that's always a cameo, though. He's making himself like in this last episode of Yellowstone. He's like a major part.
It's like 2 episodes before the season's over.
Series is over.
Well, potentially series. Like, I haven't said it was a series finale, but like,
that's true.
It's probably going to be a series finale. But like, he's in 2 episodes. Like, who cares? It's the guy's show. It's his art. Like, let him freaking show up. And then his girlfriend's in it too. It's like, who cares? Like, did you enjoy the show? Great. Why is this news?
I have problem faulting him for about anything he's doing right now because of I don't have a lot of exposure. There's Sicario, which I really love, and then there's Lioness, which is something I've gotten into just recently. But Lioness,
he's written a lot of great films too. Wind River, Hell or High Water. Yeah, he's a good writer.
Yeah, he's written a lot of great stuff. So I have a lot of trouble faulting him for what he's doing because he's created this play box or toy box that he's working with all his friends. A lot of the people that you see in some of these shows, not just the main actors that he's brought in to be able to play with these shows, but also the side characters and the smaller characters are all friends of his that he's elevated up and given them production ability, given them writing ability. Jill Wagner, who's in Lioness, is actually one of the writers for the show, and she's also as a major character in the show, or
an executive producer too, I think.
An executive producer. So like somebody who's taken his good fortune and created a place for his friends or people that he respects to grow in, I have problems being like, you're too big for this. But I think because as a people we see success like this and we go, okay, we don't understand the whole picture, but you're getting a little out of control, and I don't respect you for that because you're trying to inject yourself in all these different things. What makes you give you the right? But the thing is like, he's doing good. I think he's doing good for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I wanted it just because all I saw was vitriol about it, and all I kept thinking was I'd probably do the exact same thing if I was him. I mean, honestly, the guy he wanted to be an actor. That was literally like his dream to do. Not his dream wasn't to write Yellowstone. Then the guy manages to freaking crank out. I mean,
a lot.
Yeah. I mean, he's writing all of these shows. I've read an article where he talks about what's a writer's room. Like, everyone has a writer's room, dude. What are you talking about? No, he's writing all of these shows himself and cranking them out. And apparently he is able to do that. I'm sure at some point it's going to bleed into the craft. It's going to dilute things. You can't crank out that kind of quality without diluting it at some point.
No.
Maybe that's happening on Yellowstone. I don't know because I don't watch it. But Landman is still getting rave reviews. I thought the recent season of Lioness was much better than the first one. Tulsa King, I know a lot of people that love that show.
More Yellowstone spinoffs in the works.
Yeah, Mayor of Kingstown. I know a lot of people who loves that show. I keep on telling.
And if the guy creates this world And it affords him the ability to finally be a part of something he's wanted to be a part of his entire life. Why not? Just because you want to see Beth and Rip curse somebody out for the 45th time?
I mean, I think though my only thing that I have to say about him and Lioness is that he put himself in Lioness, and sure, he's kind of like one of the biggest badasses in Lioness.
But it works.
But it works.
Yeah.
You know, it does work. But at the same time, he's like, dude, can you not make yourself so badass?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's got the ego the size of his ranch, but
Well, and he's probably has like some grand master plan too. Like, look at Stephen King, just book after book after book after book, and all of a sudden the Dark Tower series comes out, and you're like, wait, that's that character, that character, that character, that character, and it's all tied together in this grand thing. Oh, and by the way, Stephen King writes himself into the 6th book, so it's like this is not new news. Like people
but you
that create
hated that,
things,
didn't you? You hated that.
It's not that I hated it. I just was like, this is weird.
I'm pretty sure you said I hate that, and I hope he gets hit
was
again
that was the
car.
very end. That was the very end when he like was like, hey readers, Steven here.
I hope he gets hit by a car again. You
so
take
bad.
that back.
That's
I
so
said
bad.
I think he said that. I didn't say that. I would never.
No, I know. He still needs to take it back.
The part where he's written in the book in 6 is fine. It's when he comes in 7 and goes, hey everybody, Steven here. I just want to let you know you should probably stop reading the book now and don't continue. That part was weird. But I mean, like we don't know. Travis could be a setup character for another spinoff. Like,
so he's making up his own. He's setting himself up for another show.
could be.
Could be.
Could be.
Because Yellowstone's ending probably way before he had planned it ending because of Costner.
Well, because of I don't want to put a point of finger. It's Costner, Sheridan. Costner says it's because of scheduling, and the scheduling things had to shift too often, and he had to make plans for what he wanted to do with his Horizon franchise and stuff. I wonder if he regrets that, by the way. You think Kevin Costner's regretting that at this point, this whole leaving Yellowstone to do his Horizon movies, and then the first one comes out and is an utter flop?
It's his art. It's his money. It's his estate. It's everything.
Yeah,
of course, he doesn't
Lack of
regret
money
it.
now.
Yeah, it's going to be a lack of money. I mean, he's going to be in your spare bedroom by the end of the year.
Not mine.
Things are tight. Just kidding. I hope he finishes those, because I would like to see his full vision, honestly. All right, let's move into something that is right up Troy's alley. I know he knows enough about it. So, Wicked, Mean Girls, Moana 2, are musicals mainstream again?
When you say musicals, you mean like musicals turned into movies?
Or movies with songs. I mean, I would call any movie that has more than 4 songs being sung by characters in the movie a musical, personally.
Okay. I don't know if they're necessarily mainstream again. I think Greatest Showman was out. You had Dear Evan Hansen was out. You had In the Heights coming out. Hamilton got released as a movie play version. Obviously, Tick Tick Boom was out. I mean,
but only one of those was really a hit. Only one of those all those things you
mentioned. Tick Tick Boom was huge.
Tick Tick Boom was huge.
Huge.
It was on Netflix. It was not. On
Netflix.
It
was huge.
I think it was huge.
Well, Andrew Garfield is amazing.
I don't disagree with you. The movie was great. I'm just saying I don't think it was huge.
But yeah, I don't think it's gone away. I think what we're seeing is probably maybe a resurgence of the conversion of the musicals that are on theater into movie versions of them. I think that started probably with Hamilton, and I think it's escalated since Hamilton came out. But I don't think it's not a new thing. Spirited came out, right? I mean, like musical stuff has been on the movie front at least one a year.
I don't think any of those things have been really popular. Hamilton is an exception because it's its own special thing. But I don't think like Into the Woods did okay. It wasn't a huge hit. We haven't In the Heights was a bomb, comparatively speaking, because of single same day streaming and all that. So, I mean, now we've got
La La Land.
Yeah, almost won the Oscar.
Almost.
Do you think we're going to start seeing more of them, though, or is it going to be one of those things where they still don't get the message that there are different demographics besides young males?
It's going to be the same thing it is with anything. It's going to be great until we run into one too many that don't really hit, and then it's going to go away again, and then a whole new cycle is going to reappear where people start bringing out other movies. Maybe it's comic book movies. Maybe it's sci-fi again. Maybe it's kaijus. Who knows? But then it's going to come back in the cycle.
It'll never be kaijus.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh, now I want Kaiju the musical.
sort of.
I don't know why my kaiju sound like Scooby Doo, but they do.
Raggy.
Oh, if you could do it the verse, that'd be so good. All right. Well, here's one that I'm excited about. I think this is great, and I know some people won't, but podcasts are basically mainstream news now. I know more people that get their news from podcasts than they do from all the networks combined. And the ratings prove it. There's more people listening to podcasts than listening or watching mainstream media. Are you guys surprised by this? Excited? I mean, Joe Rogan had the president on. What?
No, I'm not surprised that people have shifted their viewing habits from traditional media to things that I consume on my mobile device on the go, because most of the people that are in that 18 to 35 demographic are the ones that are consuming the most information at this point. They only have grown up with their phones. So it's a matter of shifting where you're getting information and how much time do I have for that information. So if I only have 10 minutes while I'm on the train, or 10 minutes while I'm on the bus, or 10 minutes while I'm walking to wherever I'm going, like I'm going to get the clip version versus watching the half-hour news at 5:00 nationally, before Wheel of Fortune. Like, we're just not that kind of a society anymore. And we're definitely not watching CNN and MSNBC, Fox, like, that are just so slanted that it's not even news. I mean, those are entertainment channels. They're not news channels.
You're saying that, but you're missing the fact that some of these podcasts are equally, if not more so, slanted than those stations are.
Right, but you're getting people that are like, I want to be on the red side or the blue side, finding the people that they want to follow. And it's like they're going to go to that because it's still easier to consume, like Joe Rogan or V at Under the Desk News or some of those other places. It's just easier.
Is.
Yeah. Or people like
Jon Stewart. I mean, he's pretty partisan.
I don't watch John Oliver on HBO. I watch John Oliver in the clipped down version on YouTube because it's just easier to just consume the quick version versus the whole show.
You think mainstream media is pretty much, I mean, I know somebody's yelling, going, mainstream media sucks, but they're pretty much just dead in the water. I don't know how they get a resurgence.
I think they're adapting just because you can actually listen to NBC Nightly News as a podcast. There's several other news stations where you can listen to them as a podcast now, as opposed to listening to them on or watching the news. And you can get just as much information out of it that way. The NPR is very big on podcasts. They are adjusting like they should be. And I don't think they're going to be going away.
I think 24-hour news is terrible, number one, because it's just become nothing.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's worse. I mean, it's just they have, for 24 hours news, why is it always like 2 stories throughout the day? You can't come up with more than that?
No, because nothing's broken. So you repeat the same hour over and over and over again until the break happens, and then you get all the eyeballs when the break happens.
It's all talking heads. It's opinions, which is what a podcast is. But people can, I think what it is that with podcasts, they can get an hour, digestible hour. People don't want 6 hours anymore unless it's Joe Rogan. For whatever reason, he's an excellent communicator. People can hate him all they want. He's an excellent communicator. And I think he doesn't just go down exactly the rabbit hole you think he's going to go down. He's going down all kinds of rabbit holes that don't, that are interesting to a lot of people. But I think what I was starting to say, then I went down a Joe Rogan rabbit hole, is that people can pick specifically what topic they want to hear about. They don't have to hope that something is going to come up that they're interested in. If they want to get information about a CEO who was taken out or something like that, like they can literally go find a podcast that covered it and listen to that person's take on it and not have to wait.
And more importantly, you could find podcasts that are like, and tell me, why is the medical industry the way it is? Why is the insurance industry the way it is? Like I can deep dive into the topic and get more information than I can waiting for someone to shove it in my face on a 24-hour news cycle that doesn't want to cover it at all.
And
because somebody wants to cover it, because somebody wants to speak it, because they want to know the answers themselves. So they'll put together a podcast because they've done the research and have the information. And
I also, I wouldn't say they all do the research. I mean, some of them just start talking. But I would say, I think people in the past, people have been more reliant on information, right? Facts, 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 facts. They want to tune into the news. And then because news diluted it so much because of the 24-hour cycle, it had to have so much opinionating that I think now people do want people's opinions more than the facts. Like they find a personality or personalities they like. That's what they stick with. It doesn't really matter to them how factual it is. It's if they trust that person's voice or not. That's what ends up happening. I think that's where we are primarily as a culture. And Joe Rogan, I think, just captured it better than most.
I still listen to my friend Jen Briney on Congressional Dish, and I think that's probably one of the best podcasts to listen to find out what the hell's actually going on in our country. Because Congress is the biggest thing. Like if you don't know what's going on in those committees behind closed doors, Jen finds it and puts it together, which is amazing.
Does a very informed podcast if you want to look at.
And she covers things that the mainstream media doesn't cover. Like I talk about one that she's done on air traffic control and the privatization of air traffic control and why that's actually a good thing. But the CEOs of the airlines are going to be on the board. That's not a good thing. And not CNN, not MSNBC, not Fox, not NBC. Nobody's covering the story.
Oh, because they're covering, I don't know, Trump going to a White Castle or something.
Right.
You know he wouldn't go to a White Castle.
Yes, he would. And why wouldn't you? White Castle's delicious. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, McDonald's all the way for him.
Well, he
likes the Golden Arches.
It's crazy how much podcasting has changed, especially since I remember starting this podcast. I remember way back in the early days, even doing Blacklist when we were doing that was a very popular podcast, and people still, what's a podcast? What's a podcast? It wasn't until like the end of that run that really podcasts started popping, and I blame COVID for that because it got a bunch of every entertainer in the world has to have one now, and really, took away our audience.
Those sons of bitches.
Thank you guys for still being here.
At the end of the day, I'd rather have 400 loyal listeners than 4,000, people coming in and out.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah. So, all right, you would much rather have just a small gaggle of devoted fans than.
Well, because the gaggle of devoted fans are going to give you more money because they're devoted.
Okay.
Versus 4,000 people. So if I'm an advertiser, I'm gonna say like, hey, you have 400 people that are always going to convert 100%, or I'm gonna give you 4,000 people that maybe 1% of them convert on your ad. It's like if 400 people trust the voices of our John, Aaron, and Troy, and we can convert 100% of the time, I'd much rather spend my advertising dollars on a 400 person podcast than a 4,000 listener podcast.
By the way, he's not using real numbers, people. I'm just letting you know. He's just
we don't have advertisers,
right?
I mean, I think I'm going to put the Inspired by a True Story trailer in here somewhere. We do have, sometimes we have giveaways. We do have a partner for that, but
yeah.
It isn't like I'm sending you my copies of my digital copies of things. That's from a promotional partner. I just prefer to give things away than get rich off it. Also, I don't know if I can get rich off it. Maybe I should ask. All right. So the Penguin shows villain stories can work. Because, it was a pretty amazing show. And then you've got Joker 2 and Madam Web showing how they cannot. I guess ultimately my question is, do villains need their own thing?
But storytelling is storytelling. You do it right, people are going to love it. You do it wrong, people are not going to love it. If you are using a property that people enjoy and they appreciate and they want more of that property, then you better respect that property. And I think that's part of the problem with the two examples you gave. Joker 2 and Madam Web did not respect properties.
I think Joker 2 was almost trying to insult the audience. It by all accounts, it feels like it's a middle finger to the people that are going to see it.
No, it was a middle finger to the studios that forced him to make it.
That too. But, I mean, people should enjoy it if they're going to do that, and they did not. So, I mean, I think that there's a case to be made. I don't understand, though, typically why you would want to go that route and just have something centered on just the villain. Because I think people want the back and forth, hero versus villain. Penguin, I think, got a pass because Penguin was in the Batman before. So he was recently, where the new Craven movie, however good or bad that ends up being, there's not going to be Spider-Man in it for any reason whatsoever. And that's a movie that just should have a hero character. There's no example of where they have existed other than a video game world. They haven't existed on celluloid before. And I think that gave Penguin kind of the out. I think if you didn't have the Batman and you just had that series, I don't think it would be as well received. I really, really don't. Is that a
Well, I think it's
Is that
also
a hot take or something?
I
don't
think
know.
the Penguin's also benefiting from the fact that it's the same actor doing the show that was in the movie.
Right, but I'm saying, but he was introduced. He did have a part to play. He did work with
yeah.
with the Batman, so to speak. Like he had that entrance. I think
Yeah,
if you don't have that, people
It doesn't work.
would be pissed. They'd be, well, where's Batman? Well, I want my Batman in my Penguin show.
I mean, well, it's the same with Joker, right? Joker doesn't work without the Batman, but a backstory on the Joker in the first Joker movie, like that movie was great. Like it was so good and a different take on how the Joker came to be. Like Joker 2 was just the studio saying, well, we made a shit ton of money. Let's make another one. And he's like, no, I told my story. I don't want to make another one. And then, you know,
They gave
there's
him
a
enough
whole
money.
there's a whole TikTok on it, like how you can like break down what he actually did in the movie to like basically put a finger up to the studio. But like Madam Web is just that case of like people getting a hold of the property that don't understand the property
I agree with
and
that.
just
Yeah.
not doing it right.
I mean, villains have been a popular thing for a long time. Breaking Bad, House of Cards, Sopranos, Dexter, Gone Girl. I mean, these are all movies and television shows that are popular, who are centered around villains. So the idea of bringing a villain and making a villain the topic of something is something that can be successful. It's just got to be done in a certain way when you're talking about properties that have a long lasting history to them.
I would argue that the real villain of Breaking Bad is Hank.
How
You know?
dare you?
Because, you know, Walter White was out. He was on his way out. He was finally going to retire. He was going to die of cancer anyway, or he thought he was. And then Hank wouldn't let it go. Guy's in the shitter one night, he puts it all together finally, and then he just decides to ruin Walter White's life. I think he's actually the villain of that show. Go back and rewatch it.
It's a hot take right there.
That's a weird hot take, and I'm not going to.
He just snapped because his wife wears purple all the time, and no one could explain that to him. And he just finally just lost
He
it.
had the Schrader brew going for him all the
Just
time.
letting you know. We all love true crime and the movies they inspire, but have you ever wondered how true that story actually is? Welcome to Inspired by a True Story, where every 2 weeks our award-winning podcast hosts and film critics discuss the genuine details that have inspired some of the most memorable true crime movies around. Each episode will break down the crime or crimes that inspired a very specific film, and then discuss how factual that film is, versus how much is simply Hollywood magic. Inspired by a True Story is now available to listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast app, or you can always find episodes at inspiredbyatruestory.com. As fans, we all deserve to know how true our true crime is, so take a listen to Inspired by a True Story, and let's keep those artists honest. You brought up TikTok. I got an interesting question for you, okay? This came up today. Literally, I had this conversation today, and I'm just kind of curious what you guys think. So, government has been going haywire about shut TikTok down, right? And, of course, they use it in the election time, so we'll see if that actually happens because now they got some benefit out of it. But that's what supposedly, if Congress doesn't act, TikTok's supposed to be shut down, right? They have to have an owner in the U.S. They're not going to have one probably by next year. Now, the government keeps saying, all these social media companies, TikTok's the one we got to be afraid the most of, like, because they're China.
Because it's owned by China.
Yeah, owned by China. Can't trust them. And I'm over here feeling a little Rogan-esque because I'm like, but I don't really trust you either. So, am I wrong about that? Like, we're taking advice about not trusting the people from the people that kind of aren't always up front?
Like just because Google is sitting in San Francisco, like it's supposed to be better than ByteDance sitting over in China. Like, no.
You're all hoarding our data.
Yeah, all of them. Apple, Google, Microsoft,
All
of
of
them. Apple.
Read the terms and conditions. If you can get
Apple
through
again.
all of them, it's in there that they're collecting your data. Like, I get China's bad, you know, this is why China's winning, all that, but
It's a government play about information from because World War III isn't going to be nukes. World War III is going to be data.
oh, it's going to be data. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Everyone gets petrified about what's going on in the middle, and honestly, people should be concerned. I understand all that. I'm just saying, what's really going to impact people is going to be digitally. Your identity, your retirement, your financials, that kind of stuff. That's the thing to be worried about. I just thought it was funny. I'm like, I've never felt more like Joe Rogan than I did today because I'm just like, why do they keep telling me to worry about TikTok? I'm worried about you. I'm worried about all the things you guys do. because it's really built for them as opposed to us common folk. Anyway, all right. So that was, see, that's why we don't do opinions here. You know, we just stick to the facts. Ask.
Do we?
What do you think of the resurgence of the distant past this year? We had a whole bunch of, we have Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, Shogun, Aliens, Beetlejuice, Twisters, Gladiator, like all this stuff is coming back. Do you guys feel like we're never going to get away from the past? It's just always going to be there.
You know, I was reminded recently that the movie The Matrix talks about how the 1990s was peak human existence, and that's why these robots built the Matrix so that it was resembling the 1990s perpetually. Mm-hmm. This kind of proves that maybe that's right.
80s and 90s. That was when it was. That was where it was at.
Well, no, it's just the reason why this happens is because of generational shift. So my kids are now at the point where I've shown them everything from my childhood. So now they're in that brand. So we need to capitalize on that brand with the new generation so that when that generation becomes 20 years later, they can do the same exact thing and keep that going. So it makes total sense that we're going back to things in the 80s and 90s because that's when we were influenced the most. So we're sharing those properties with our children as we grow up.
All right, fine. If you want to be fancy about it.
I mean, it is like my kids were like, "Dad, are we going to see Ghostbusters?" And I'm like, "I guess sure, we'll go see the Ghostbusters movie." Like, and it was good. And then they made the second one, and the second one was not so good. And it was like, "Oh, see, history repeats itself."
That's funny. I think what it is if you either have to recapture what made the original great, because then you've got nostalgia. Axel F was just very much recapturing that magic from the first two movies, or do something different. And, you know, Twisters, Aliens, Alien Romulus, I think that really was just kind of like a repackaging of the past in some, it was capturing the nostalgia factor. Same with Gladiator 2. You've got Shogun though. Shogun took what we did see, and instead of making it really from the white dude's perspective, it's really from the Japanese perspective, and really kind of created its own complete and utter existence. Like it completely made you forget about the original thing, which is very unusual for those kinds of properties. All right. Anything you guys want to add before I go to the last couple?
I think I think you said like Disney's got a real big resurgence this year since Iger's come back. Like I'm really curious to see what his master plan looks like with like going back into the Marvel, Star Wars, some of these properties that they've now owned that they've basically diluted. Mm-hmm. Like what is he going to do to rein that in order to make it? Like I saw Moana 2, they had the Pixar trailer for the June drop or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this looks like a Pixar movie. Like I'm excited that this finally looks like a Pixar movie again. Without it being like Inside Out or Monsters or something that was already in existence. Like from a new property perspective, a new idea, it looks like a Pixar movie, not something that was like DreamWorks knockoff.
Do you think Star Wars can be saved at this point? I've heard good things about Skeleton Crew. I haven't watched it, but in terms of the films, we haven't had a Star Wars movie in a long time now. And I really missed the film version of Star Wars because I don't care about the TV side.
We need to figure out what characters are worthwhile watching and what people are going to come back for.
Well, Rey, I think people would come back for Rey.
Well, with Rey, you still can bring back Chewbacca, which is fine. And you got a couple other characters that are
legacy characters, so to speak.
Yeah, legacy characters that you can mess with. Star Wars is it's a weird conundrum because you can probably bring it back and make it work, but it's one of those things where I think you'd have to start honoring some of the history or legacy that's behind it, and they've just shown no interest in doing that.
You mean like the original movies, or you're talking about the books again?
Maybe the books again.
All right. No.
Wait, there's a books. There's an extended.
Yeah, he doesn't think you can create.
I didn't know that this existed. I was told that there was none of that.
Let me put it in this term for you, John. The Mandalorian, did that exist in any of the books?
So you're going to use one example.
I'm going to give the most prominent example of anything they've done outside of the other three movies. That is the most popular thing they've done outside of the.
And why is it popular? Is it popular because it's a fresh and new idea, or did they just repaint a dumbass character and make him a little bit cooler?
They made a fun show. They remembered that Star Wars is fun first in that show.
Right. Well, Yes, there's some aspects of the books can be brought in, and they have brought in some aspects of the books. Grand Admiral Thrawn is from the books. The characters from
We don't need the whole nerd out on it. I get it. Books, you like the books.
no, but there's also Troy, help me out. Name of the cartoon.
Rebels?
Rebels. There you go. The characters from Rebels can be brought in, and they have been brought in, but you can actually build a whole movie series off of them with some of the just rearrange some of the stuff from the books into something that's a little bit more coherent and better than what they have been doing. Because what they have been doing is just another way of insulting us, because the J.J. Abrams movies are just Control-C, Control-V from the first movies ever released. And
I think Last Jedi is a little better, a little different. Not better, but different than those. But
all right, a little different. Yeah.
I think they focus too much on TV. I think people want to see spectacle, and that is something they would go to the big screen for. And
but they focused on TV because of the pandemic, so they had to do a shift from what, because Obi-Wan was supposed to be a movie, right?
Obi-Wan was a great show, though.
No, it was okay. It wasn't great. That could have been a great movie, but 6 episodes? No, I'm not with you on that. I don't think it needed to be that long. It was too long. Well, there's some great elements to it. I love the little Leia and stuff like that. Even though how many Skywalker things do we need? But with Kenobi, I'll let it pass. It makes sense. But there is a lot of dragging it on in that show.
Yeah, but even at 6 episodes, it was only like 30 minutes, 32 minutes. It wasn't even like a full 50-minute thing.
Should have been a movie.
I mean, it was a 3-hour movie just shipped out in 6 parts.
It would have been a great 2-hour movie.
There was an episode or two that got cut out.
A lot of fluff. All right, that's Troy. John, anything you want to add? Movies?
I just have a question.
Oh boy. Okay.
So, and it has nothing to do with news or anything. I just have to get this out.
Okay.
So both Troy and Amanda have said they hated the movie Spirited.
No. Amanda hates it. I love it.
Troy loved it.
Oh, you loved it? Okay.
Yeah.
But we did learn that John's not a great listener.
No, I'm not. Because I watched it last night for the first time, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was great. And I was just trying to, the whole time, I'm like, why do people hate this? Because I think it's a great movie.
I think it's just okay.
It's not the greatest musical in the world, but it's catchy. It's fun. The Good Afternoon sequence is amazing.
Love that song. That part's great. Yeah. If it could have been a movie of that, I would have loved it.
And just the different concept about Scrooge wanting to come back to be alive again because he was dead. I mean, that was like a great twist on a Christmas. The whole thing was a great twist in the Christmas Carol. It was pretty well done, I have to say.
I think it was well done too. The just every aspect of it was just, I think, a lot of joy.
All right. So one more thing I want to mention is Robert Downey Jr. is back in Marvel as Dr. Doom. That was huge news.
Dumb.
Dumb. Got it. Okay. And now it was just announced by the Wrap before we started recording that Chris Evans is returning in some capacity. It's not officially Captain America. It could be, some multiverse nonsense, whatever. This is one where I just have to come back to it. Now that we're closing the year out, this just pisses me off. Just like they won me back with Deadpool and Wolverine, and now they're making me not want to be there again. Like I got excited seeing that Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn, like they're going to be in the next Fantastic Four movie. That makes me excited. Julia Garner's in that movie too, like a Silver Surfer. I'm excited for that. I think the new Captain America looks solid. You got Harrison Ford. Then they come out with this nonsense, and it just makes me go, I just want out at this point. Like that's how annoying this news is. Now it could work, but it's annoying.
I'm okay with Chris Evans coming back as long as he's playing Cap. Robert Downey Jr. coming back as a different character, that's just dumb. It'll confuses the audience.
You don't think they'll figure out a way to work around? You know what's going to be that thing where the people that are from the previous ones are going to be, I thought you were Tony. I'm not Tony. I'm Dr. Doom, bitches. And then does something maniacal. He's going to be like, I'm the dude playing a dude dressed as another dude. He's going to do that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, or the whole character doesn't even look like Robert Downey Jr. and he's just doing the voice. Like an Ultron thing or something.
You're going to say he's going to wear black faces.
You never go full.
No, they just make Doom a CGI character like Ultron, and then he's just the voice. so you don't actually see Robert Downey Jr.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's one of those things. Like I can't remember if I loved Daniel Craig. I can't remember if I loved Ben Affleck. You know, all those casting choices that get people talking. I know I didn't love Tom Holland. Still don't. But we could be proven wrong, right? Once you actually see it, a lot of times people are proven wrong. I was all team Gal Gadot when she was announced, so I got that one right at least. But yeah, we'll see. But I just don't know how this is a good call. I just feel like, and now you're putting Evans in the mix. It's just weird. And you know what? I don't think he's going to be Cap. It hasn't been officially announced, but I don't think he'll end up being Cap. I bet you he ends up being a multiverse character or something, just to make it confusing.
I'm really hoping they start backing away from the multiverse thing.
It needs to stop. I mean, even Deadpool made a point of it. Like, it hasn't been great.
Yeah,
it's been kind of terrible.
That's what got me excited about Deadpool when I was watching it. The more they were making fun of their own mistake in Deadpool,
yeah,
the more I was like, okay, at least someone's paying attention. I hope it's not just Ryan Reynolds.
I hope not too. I want to mention Deb Thomas, listener. She had this question. I think this is something we should definitely be talking about. What about this popcorn bucket fad? What do we think about this idea? Now, granted, Dune, if you didn't know, they made a popcorn bucket that a lot of people wanted to fuck it. And that's essentially, it went from there. And then, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine, they upped the ante a little bit and made basically a BJ container. And then you've had various popcorn buckets throughout the year. I haven't bought any of them. I did. Well, that's not true. I bought a Deadpool and Wolverine one for a friend and shipped it to him because he couldn't get it where he lived. But I have not personally bought one.
I kind of want this Warhammer one that seems to be going around, the giant Warhammer.
But what these are just like toy collectibles, right? Like what are you going to do with them? What are you going to do with 10 popcorn buckets or even 3 of these popcorn buckets? What are you going to do with it?
Oh,
put it on a shelf?
Man. I don't know.
Put it on a shelf, hope that it gains value, and then sell it somewhere 20 years from now.
Do you think anybody actually tried it with the Dune bucket?
Yeah.
Didn't put that much thought into it.
For sure.
Well, here I'm putting some thought into it. Do you think anybody gave it a... It's always the guy who says that, Troy, that's tried it. Huh?
No, I do not buy the popcorn buckets because I buy the kids pack anytime I go to the theater because I get popcorn, a drink, and fruit snacks for $7.
It's a good deal.
I'm a cheapskate.
It's also why your scale is lighter than mine.
That's right. Damn straight.
Aaron finishes the popcorn before the movie starts and goes back and gets more.
I do, and I really don't need that. I don't know why you're pointing a finger at me right now. I didn't need it. I'm not the one banging in my bucket. That's on you.
I need this popcorn bucket with extra butter.
Last but not least, Deb also asked, is it fair that the Bear is always up for comedy awards? And the answer is no.
No.
That needs to stop. Golden Globes just came out. The Bear is up for best drama, as it is from the Emmys and everything else. And I know it's included there because there's you can include it if it's a half hour and whatnot, but it's a drama. It is not funny. If it's funny, it's very not funny at being funny.
I don't know why there's 2 separate categories. Just give me the best, whatever it is.
Best series? Best actor?
Series. Yep.
Across the board? You just want the thing done, right? It's 20 minutes too long? Is that what I'm getting?
You can't
definitely.
watch it at 2 times speed.
Well,
It's a live event. It's really
because
hard to
everybody
watch.
that's up there is drunk, so they're talking like 10 times slower.
Golden Globes, here's the thing. I thought they were gone. And it's funny because, they got into so much grief because they were, go read into it, but they're a really shitty organization. And of course, Hollywood, being all pretentious and whatnot, said, we want nothing to do with you for 1 year. And then, of course, they come back and like, but we really miss having an award in January, so you can come back as long as you give us some awards in January and make sure you have a couple people that are diverse in there somewhere, and then we'll be all good. And then they got their awards because they wanted the showcase, and, it's good promotion for their movies and da-da-da-da-da. I'm happy for everybody that gets nominated, don't get me wrong. I was very happy Selena Gomez got nominated because she just got trash talked by another Spanish actor who was complaining about how her Spanish was poor, and Emilia Perez. And I'm just like, I saw in the movie, number one, they don't say that she's born there, but she's good in the movie. So leave her alone. Sorry. I wound myself up, I think. Bear. No, shouldn't be a comedy award.
No bear.
All right. Now we're going to move on to some recently seen discussion, some new stuff. John, why don't you start? What have you seen that's a little new that you want to recommend before we're out of here for the rest of the year?
Yeah, sure. So over the weekend, I caught Nutcrackers, which just released on Hulu. It stars Ben Stiller and a bunch of kids that are ratty and gross looking, but hey, it's a lot of fun. If you want something that's kind of like a follows a certain beat, a pretty decent beat all throughout with Ben Stiller, and you're a fan of his, and you've got a couple of kids who will give you anxiety because of the kind of things they do throughout the movie. It's a good Christmas thing. So nothing that will really knock your socks off, but for a good sit for Christmas, I can recommend that.
All right.
And then I also caught Elevation, which
I haven't seen it yet. I do want to watch it though.
It's good. It's something that probably will, considering like how cinema is received these days, I would probably say that it would be better if it was released like 15 years ago. It would be better received.
That's a great sales pitch right there. The effects are so good. It should have been released 15 years ago. It's just a quiet place with monsters, and instead of like sound, that you got to stay below X number of feet.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty much that, and it doesn't do anything new, and it doesn't like knock your socks off. But if you're a fan of the people in it, like Anthony Mackie, Miranda Baccarin, if you're a fan of those people and you're like, hey, I want to watch a movie with them, and that's actually kind of cool, then I can recommend it.
All right, Troy.
So I recently saw Moana 2 in the theaters. Didn't see it the opening weekend. I waited a week just to see kind of what reactions were going to be to it. And I have to say, like, the story is actually really cute and really fun. And you do feel a little bit of kind of like, oh, at the end of it, which is really great. The songs aren't.
I love her as a character. I do.
Yeah. She's great as a character. The Rock obviously coming back in as Maui is great. The relationship between Moana and her little sister, like that's great time there. You have all of the fun with the little, the pig and the chicken and everybody. So it's like, it's good. It's not Moana, the first one, because Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't do the songs for the second movie.
Makes a big difference. Yep.
Makes a big difference. But there's like the capstone songs at the start of the movie and at the end of the movie, like those songs still hit very well. It's kind of the middling songs in the middle that are kind of like, who wrote this? And that was the Chihu song. Is just a bad sequence.
It kind of grew on me after a while. I mean, it's supposed to be like, what was the big song in Moana that he sang?
You're Welcome.
You're Welcome. Yeah. That became his signature song. And I know The Rock.
Because You're Welcome was good. It was catchy. It was fun. And it was like, it was on the beat and it had the little arts and the dancing and the whatever.
I liked it after a while. It grew on me.
No.
It did. It grew on me. It was
like Chihu is like, I'm too shiny, right? It's like those two are like, and I'm too shiny is actually fun. Like that one grew on me over time, but no. But I mean, the overall story is good, and it actually does set up what you could have for like a third movie or a potential TV series at the end, which I know probably like grates on some people's nerves, but I think it was really well done to convert this from a TV series into a movie, which they could have done with Obi-Wan and some of the other stuff. But they did a great job with this, and I thought it was a really good. It's good to see that it's pulling in the numbers that it's pulling in, because it could have gone drastically horribly wrong.
What did you give it? $10 full price of admission. I gave it like $6. So
I was a $6.57.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good time. Thoroughly enjoyed. And then not necessarily movie, but movie adjacent related. I did get to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway, which is a play that has been severely reduced from its original run. The thing used to be like 3.5 hours.
What is it when you went and saw it?
What's that?
How long was it when you saw it?
It was like, standard, like 240.
Okay.
Standard, 2 acts with an intermission in the middle. It used to be like 4 acts back in the day. It was crazy when it first came out. The basic story of this is that it's a couple years after the end of the Harry Potter sequence. Harry Potter has a kid. Draco Malfoy has a kid. They become best friends at Hogwarts-ish. And then they kind of do things because they want to basically help out this guy. And they travel back in time. And they basically mess with events from Goblet of Fire in order to save one of those characters' lives that ends up dying. And of course, as they mess with the past, it of course, affects the future. And then it just more and more they mess with it, the more and more Voldemort tends to come back out. And then hopefully, gets resurrected. They figure out what's going on. They solve the plans. Everybody's happy in the end.
Did J.K. Rowling have anything to do with it?
The musical itself, I don't think so. I think she did write the Cursed Child book.
Oh, okay.
Or at least had influence into the book. But the book itself, the story isn't like a great story. But if you like time travel, if you like the Death Eaters, if you like the characters that you like grew up with, right, in the Harry Potter original series, it's a good time. And the thing that's great about the musical, or not the music, the Broadway play version of it, the tech is outstanding. I mean, when you say Wizarding World magic, like they literally performed magic tricks on the stage.
Oh, that's cool.
Because there was like a sequence where like this bed comes out of nowhere, right? And they reset the set for the next sequence or whatever. The bed comes out. There is nobody in this bed. Nobody. And then they like flick the sheets like they're making the bed. And as they flick the sheets up and down, there's people laying in the bed. And you're just like, what the hell? Like, do it again. I didn't catch it.
Do they have sex after that?
No, they do not.
Oh.
But the fight scenes are great. When they like do the acrobatics and they levitate in the air and freeze in the air, like how they're able to do that without seeing, I'm assuming, people in the background that are holding them on tables or plates or something. All of it. The lighting was really cool. There was like this cool effect that they did when they did the time travel back and forth on the lighting. That was just really fantastic how they made that work. All of it was just really well done tech wise. So like I might actually go like pick up a $25 ticket and see it again just to like try to figure out what the hell's going on the tech side.
How long is it in town for?
It's in Chicago till February.
I might have to try and see if I can get out there.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I'll get the 2 for $25 deal and I'll let you know. And
maybe you and I can go.
We'll go.
We'll go have a bro date.
Bro date.
All right.
Which is a big thing for Aaron because Aaron does not come to Chicago.
I hate Chicago. Yep, sure do.
But he loves me.
I do.
All that matters.
I do. If I can deal with traffic, I can deal with Troy. So, what did I see? I saw werewolves.
Unless it's Troy driving in traffic.
I will not drive with Troy in traffic. That is, you can't even imagine. Yeah. Vin Diesel doesn't know shit about driving in traffic. That's all I'm saying. Werewolves with Frank Grillo opened, didn't do too well. Don't care. Whenever it comes to your streaming service or you can rent it, it's a fun time. Essentially what it is Frank Grillo is a former, military operative and also a molecular biologist. And I can't even say it with a straight damn face. And the movie kind of opens very John Carpenter-like, which means you've got this established world that's already existing. People are already hitting the ground running. The previous year, there's a supermoon event, and anybody that was caught in the supermoon, the moon itself basically unlocked a latent gene that turned those people into werewolves. So this year they're trying to study the people that turn and telling everybody else to stay indoors. It's the Purge with werewolves, and it has Grillo, who he lost his brother the previous year, and now he's trying to protect his sister-in-law and niece. And of course, things go sideways with this big experiment, and he has to get to them. And basically, it's him trying to get through town to get to them. That's the movie. It's fun. It's directed by Stephen C. Miller. It is a very low-budget film. You can tell. It is practical effects. They utilize them as best they can because, they don't have money for a lot of fancy shots. So what they do is they're optimizing the quiet scares, the things that you don't see, the close-ups, etc. But it really, really works. It's a fun movie. It's the kind of movie that I wish they had a few more bucks for. I wish it would have done great so they could get a sequel to and we get another one because I had a lot of fun. There's definitely some issues with the movie because you can tell it's an independent movie. You can tell it's very low budget, whatever. But I love that kind of stuff and it's fun. It's a fun B movie. If $10 is full price admission, I give that one $6.50. I hope you guys check it out. Troy, I don't know if you'd like it. John, I know you would like it.
Nice.
Probably not.
Yeah. Then one I think, Troy, you would love, I don't know if John would like it, is Juror Number 2. It's a Clint Eastwood film that you can rent it now. It's a premium rental. It'll be on Max December 20th if you want to wait and save a few bucks, right? Because by the time you're listening to this, it's not that far. This is the best Clint Eastwood movie in years. It really, really is. It's Nicholas Hoult as a juror on a murder case, I don't want to give you any much information. I will say this. He comes to realize he knows more about this case than he should as a juror. And then it really breaks down into a morality tale of what should you do in this situation? What's the right thing to do? What's right? You know, who's right in this scenario? And he has a very conflicted past, and he's trying to make amends for many wrongs he's done. But he also thinks that the guy on trial might be innocent. And how do you get a whole jury that doesn't feel that way to see it the way you know it probably is true? And it ends up being like this kind of almost like a mystery film. But as it plays out, and Toni Collette is the prosecutor, by the way, who's, you know, great as always. It's a morality tale, though. And when you get, it's a what would you do in this situation kind of movie, because there's a lot to lose on every side. And so it's a matter of what is the right thing to do here. And I think you're probably going to feel differently as you go throughout the movie. And the movie also doesn't give you like an easy answer. And I love that. I personally, the only reason I say that is I don't want people to be disappointed. There's some real hard looks at morality. And I think that's what makes it work. So juror number 2, I give that one $8. I really loved it.
That definitely sounds up my alley.
It's really good. It's really good.
You got my attention with it. I'll check it out.
And Emilia Perez, I want to mention this, man. I have no idea how to explain this frickin' movie. It is a musical. It is a drama about a cartel owner, a runner, or guy in charge of a cartel. What is their job title? I don't really know. It is getting a ton of raves.
Cartel boss's bitch.
It's getting a ton of raves, but Zoe Saldana is in this. She's also in Lioness, which I can recommend on Paramount. But she is a lawyer in this, and she's contacted by a cartel leader. And the cartel leader wants to help him fake his death so he can live his true self. It's a movie about identity. It's a movie about sacrifice. It's a movie about trying to live your true life and also refuse to give up your past one. There's a lot of factors at play here. Selena Gomez, as we talked about earlier, stars as the girlfriend or the wife of the cartel leader. The thing I want to say about it is a musical. There are literally musical numbers. It's weird to see musical numbers about cartels, and it's odd. It's also really creative and clever. And Troy, I think you both would actually like this one. It is daring in many respects. I think it's bold in many areas. Half of it is in Spanish, so you know if you have to be okay with subtitles or speak it, you know, as it were. I just thought it was a really. I did not think I was going to get past the musical numbers once. And Zoe Saldana has a great voice, by the way. She actually, there's literally nothing she can do or can't do. She can do everything.
Say I don't think that means what you think it means, Aaron.
Yeah, it didn't. But Carla Gasson is the lead, and all I would just want to say is it's a very brave performance. And I guess how I would word this is, people hear it's a movie about someone who's trans, right? And they immediately go, "Oh, it's preaching to me," and da da da. However they feel about it, I think people have that gut reaction. I think this is the most creative and interesting way to tell a story about that topic, because it seems to be about so many other things. It's not just that. There's so much more involved, and I really, really do recommend it. It is on Netflix. I give it about $7.50. You know, not all the songs are great and everything else, but I think the overall message, the overall film, the overall context, like all of it put together, it's a really nice package of creativity and also looking at a topic in a way that I don't think has ever been done before. That in itself deserves to be rewarded. It's on Netflix. Please watch it. And I will lastly, I think a lot of people have trashed the Suicide Squad game over the course of the year. Like it got really, I don't know if it's because I waited until they fixed literally everything, but I got it pretty cheap and I loved it. I got it for like $20 and I freaking love this game. So if you can get it cheap right now, I think, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's really, reminds me a lot of that Guardians of the Galaxy game from a few years ago.
which I still haven't finished.
That's a great game, man. You should go finish it. It's good.
I didn't finish the 2 Star Wars ones either.
That's right. It's like, what are you doing? You play those 60-hour games, and you have no problem finishing them.
Well, it's because once I'm in the 60-hour game, I'm in the 60-hour game, and I do nothing else. And then I try to pick up those smaller ones, like in between the 60-hour games, and then the 60-hour game drops, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that one. And then I forgot how to play it, so then I have to start over.
Do you just wear a diaper when you play them?
Pretty much.
That's good. Commitment. I respect it. All right. This is our out. We're done. We're getting out of here for the rest of the year. There will be a Patreon. We're going to answer your questions on Patreon. John and I did a bad holiday movies episode. It was actually pretty fun, I think. That will be both of those things will be on Patreon, patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. So there's 2 more episodes coming to Patreon if you're a Patreon supporter. So thank you for those people that support us. But give us your biggest takeaway from 2024 and what you want to see in 2025. And we can discuss if we want to. So if you get cut off, don't bitch about it.
I don't need more Ghostbusters.
Okay.
That was one of my takeaways.
You're admitting that it's time to, it's done?
Yeah, I don't need any more Ghostbusters. Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh can do absolutely no wrong in my book. Agreed. As actors.
Agreed.
We Live in Time was absolutely fantastic. I just cried like a baby in that entire movie. Also, Planet of the Apes can still work as long as you follow the Matt Reeves formula going forward. So I am looking forward to more apes in the future.
Nice. So one of my biggest takeaways from 2024 is that that AI is here to stay, and it's not going to go anywhere. And we should be worried to some extent, but also I want to see moving forward. I want to see a responsibility in using it, especially when it comes to entertainment and being creative. Being able to use AI as a way to elevate what you're already doing, expand your viewpoint in ways that you hadn't expanded it before, but always revert back to the human being as being the North Star for whatever being creative is being done. But ultimately, yeah, I think AI needs to be used a lot more responsibly than it has been before. And we need to stop assuming that absolutely everything is AI, or even stuff that's being done by talented people who have all this ability, because all you're doing is robbing people from of their skill, talent, and everything else by assuming that as your first thought. Also, I think this year taught us that comic book movies aren't done. We just need to go back to the roots of loving the content and loving the stories that that are already in place for us to build from, and treating them again as far as treating them as something that's more special than we have been in the last couple of years. It's been definitely more of a cash grab as opposed to trying to create something that's beautiful and tells a wonderful story. And we need to be able to just go back to that.
Okay. Let's see here. Number one, it was very exciting. I went somewhere and I got to see The Hollywood Outsider on the big screen. That was pretty exciting because we're featured in the My Dead Friend Zoe trailer as one of the quotes from that trailer. There's like 3 quotes that pop up, but I got to see it on a big screen. I've seen it on YouTube and everything else, but it was really cool to see it in a movie theater. So that's one big takeaway from 2024 that really made my day. I had a wonderful time at South by. It was really cool once again to see all the different movies that premiered there, especially Fall Guy, and seeing Amanda not be able to get in, but I was able to get in. That was still a highlight of the event because that's what she gets for all her cancellations. And then, sorry, is that shitty? Then what else? I was happy to see theaters crowded again. That's always a highlight for me. I love a crowd in a movie theater. I never shy away from it. I know some people want no one in the theater and they want it to themselves. That is not my best result. I just love going with a crowd. And then I feel like I'm starting to feel like people are calming down. That's my big takeaway. I think emotions were so heightened all the way through the year. And I know, election, whatnot. And I know people are still concerned about this or that, or not concerned about that or this. But I do think Emotions have come down to some degree. I'm hearing more people talking rationally again, less of the incendiary rhetoric that I feel like was taking over a lot of the conversation. And it's starting to feel like people are just having conversations again. And I want to get back into that where people can have a constructive conversation, disagree, agree, point out a fact, and not have somebody freak out or yell or just throw a tantrum. You know, we get back to that. That's all I want to see in 2025 because that's what I miss. That's what I feel like. Honestly, I think since COVID has been a struggle to get back to that point where we can have a conversation about things we don't agree on. And I think we're getting pretty close to that again. I don't know why. My gut's saying we're close. People are just burned out. They're tired of arguing. So they want to get back to just having conversations with their neighbors again. Or at least I hope that's what they're going to do. Okay. What do you want to see in 2025?
I want to see more Middle Earth stories. Ring of Power Season 2 and the War of the Rohirrim coming out this year. I definitely think there's stuff in the Tolkien verse that we can definitely tap into that would be way more interesting than what Star Wars has put out. So I also want to see less Star Wars stories in 2025. And I also want to see Apple TV Plus taking over the HBO like must-watch content, because everything I've seen on Apple TV in 2024 was like a hit, every single thing. So it just, HBO has not been a draw as it used to be. So I like to see Apple TV kind of spank HBO, to be honest.
Two things on that. One, the War of the Rohirrim, did I say it right?
Rohirrim, yeah.
Rohirrim. That I think would be huge if it was live action. I don't think anybody wants to see anime. I think that's the problem with that movie.
Yeah.
I don't think people are excited about it.
I have not seen it
anime
yet, so I'll reserve judgment once I find out, and I'll tell you after the new year.
Well, the other thing is you want Apple to just beat the shit out of Macs, like specifically Macs. That's what I loved about that. It's not all of them. You want them to beat Macs, like Macs beat you at some point, or stole your lunch money, or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
they gave me House
what
of the
is
Dragon.
that about?
They gave me House of the Dragon Season 2, and it was shit.
Okay, so you're just bitter about that one show, and you're like, burn them all to the ground. I don't give a shit.
No, I'm bitter Zaslav, completely dismantling the service and canceling a whole bunch of stuff that was actually good.
Oh, the Coyote movie. I really wanted to see that one.
Yeah.
Anything more you want to see in 2025, John?
I know John's still upset about that. Raising Wolves. That was that.
Raised by Wolves. I'm
Raised
not
by Wolves,
that upset about it anymore. If you watch the Dune show, it's got all the same problems that Raised by Wolves has, only it doesn't tell you anything at all whatsoever. Loving content, making things that we love as opposed to making things that we want money from to make money with. And I just want to see AI being used responsibly in a creative manner. I don't want to live in a world where it's like, oh, well, that's just AI. No, it's not just AI. It's another tool just like anything else.
I just want to get to Reacher season 3. That's it.
That's just 2 months away.
Can't wait. Give me the Reacher season 3, and then I'm good. And I just want to see Marvel not find themselves in the same place, I guess. Oh, well. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I want to thank everybody for listening throughout the year. We'll have a compilation next week, and then we'll be back first full week of January. That's not a holiday week. So thanks, everybody, for listening. And remember, the next time you head to a theater or stream comfortably on your couch, buy popcorn.